Well, I just want to say, on behalf of all of us here at the Jays for Justice podcast group, we are so sorry for the loss of your son, Marcus.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Can you share with us what Marcus was like as a father, as a son, as a brother? Can you go back and tell us when he was born and share that with us?
Yeah, he was born May 25th, 1975, my first child. And he was just like like a regular little boy, but he was really, really friendly, and I used to tell Mama, I'm scared somebody's gonna steal him, because
Oh,
he talked to anybody, adults. He'd hold the door open for people. He was, and he always stayed that way. It's like people gravitated to Mark, um, because he just had that type of aura about him,
yeah.
and he has a sister that he asked for. It was fun. Yeah, because he was like 4, and he told me, he said, "Mama, I want a baby sister," and I'm like, "Oh, well, okay, we'll get right on that." And but and he adored his kids. When they were born, I hated to go to the hospital with him because I'd be like, "Mark, let me hold him." Okay, Mama, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute for what? And it was when Anthony was born. That was his firstborn. And when I got to the hospital, he said, "Mama, now I know what you mean." And it was because how I would always tell them, how much I loved them.
No.
So now, he knew how that felt. And
Yeah.
he was, he, I mean, Mark was, I miss him.
Oh. He
He
seemed
was,
he seemed like he gravitated towards his children and became a dad that day, and
yeah,
just loved
yeah.
his family, very family oriented. And
Oh yeah, he loved family, and he didn't like for you to be sad or anything. He When his grandmother passed away, and both of my kids were extremely close to my parents, and when his grandmother passed away, his cousin, he was hugging her, and she was crying, and he patted her, and then he leaned her back and he went, "Nikki." And she was like, "Huh?" He said, "Now you have snot all on my shoulder." And, made us laugh. And he was just, I mean, his teenage years, oh my God. If I get through these, like once somebody asked me, "Oh, did Mark have girlfriends?" I'm like, "Oh, Jesus, yes."
Oh goodness.
Yeah, when he hit that part of his life, I'm like, "Oh my God," And but he was a fun guy. It was um nobody would have ugly things to say about him. He would just he wasn't an angel. Yes, he did, things wrong, but he didn't do anything to deserve the death penalty.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all human, we
Right,
all live through life and
right,
have to
right.
go through those, experimental ages and make those mistakes
Mhm.
to learn. And to me, he seemed like he was learning from a lot of his mistakes, but he was at the point to where he was doing such a great work to society, being a father and a husband.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, because that's why I said he wasn't an angel, and he did things in his teen years, but that's what I would tell him. He was 37 years old, and when I would go down there to visit, I'd look at him and I'd say, you are just a big old dad now. You have on your house shoes and where your pants used to stand up in the corner by themselves. They would start so tight. You just have on your little pants and your house shoes, and you're just a big old dad, country dad.
A country dad.
So yeah, big old country dad.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
and we
when
go
did
ahead.
he get married?
They got married, I think, in August of 2002, I believe it was.
Okay. So he has children, and when does he meet? I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Estrella?
Astria.
Astria. Okay. So he has children, then he meets her.
No, Anthony was from former relationship with Michelle. That's
Okay.
his, and they met when I think when Anthony was like 9 or 10 months old.
So he was
Um,
little.
yeah, and because his mother had gotten in trouble, so she was in jail, and Mark had him, and that was the thing. Like she had two older kids, and he was trying his best to keep all three of them together,
Yeah.
and because he worked at night and he tried to work and and go in and take care of them and stuff, and he was even living with her parents. And I told him, I said, Mark, I know what you're trying to do, and that's good. I said, but you need to be able to come in and sleep, without having to be worried about Anthony. I said, you need to come home,
Yeah.
and so he finally did, and then that way, because it was me, my mother, my sister, and his sister, to help him. And so he finally came home. But as far as Astria, it was like he literally married the girl from next door because she lived next door with her mother. She had moved out here from Louisiana. And they started talking or whatever and then dating. And so, yeah, she used to live next door to us.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Okay. I remember reading something about them being married. Um, and when did they move to Louisiana?
Well, see, that I can't tell you a year because it was funny. She's from Louisiana, but she liked living in Texas, and he liked living out there because it was like country, and I told him, I said, Mark, we have country areas in Texas, so they would move here and they'd stay a little while, and then he'd want to go back out there, so they'd move back out there, and they had moved here again, and she got pregnant with the youngest, and then they left, and I told them, I said, don't y'all move back here anymore. I said, because I've got to attach to this baby and always have him, and now y'all gonna move away and take him. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So they moved back out there.
okay. So it's January 4th, 2013. Walk me through that day.
Okay. It was like a normal day. I used to watch Atticus, which is Kyra, my daughter's little boy. And so I was over there with him, and and Astrid and I used to talk all the time, every day, multiple times a day, text all through the day.
Yeah.
And Mark used to say, I'm the in-law, and I would tell him, oh, hush. you know. So it was not odd, for her to call me. And my cousin had come over because she used to get her hair done around the corner. And usually, anytime she would come, we would call Mark. And I told her, now looking back on it, I'm like, I had said in my head, it's time for me and Cheryl to call Mark so y'all can cut up. But we didn't. And so by this time, um, everybody was getting home. Um, my daughter and my son-in-law had gotten home, and Dave, my husband, had come to pick me up, and Cheryl was leaving. Well, my phone rang, and so it was Astria. And I told Dave, I said, like I lifted, I said, "This is Astria. I'm going to go in the garage so I can hear her." So I hugged Cheryl, and um, went in the garage. And I could tell something was wrong, but it wasn't, um, like hysterics, or it was none of that. It was just that I knew her. I talked to her all the time, so I could tell something different in her voice.
Yeah.
And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "I think Mark just did something to himself." And I said, "No, I mean, what would make you think that?" And she said, "Because we were texting and now I can't get him to answer." And I said, "Well, that's nothing strange." I said, "You know how Mark is, he just won't answer." I said, "Especially if y'all getting into it, he's not going to say anything."
Yeah.
So she said she was leaving work and she had called her parents to go over there and try and check on him or whatever. And I said, "Okay." And so, but I didn't hear anything, Dre. I didn't hear walking. I didn't hear keys. I didn't hear the car start. I didn't hear the door close. I didn't hear the car noises, when
Like
you're driving.
normal. Yeah, when you're in a car, you can usually hear that. It almost sounds like white noise, but it's not as loud.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And see, it's like now I know what it was, different things that I was supposed to hear, because I'm like, how were you leaving work? And I heard nothing. I didn't hear a car start up. So how are you leaving work? So I told her, I said, "Well, hold on a minute." And I clicked over and I called him and I was like, "Answer, answer, answer, answer," but of
Mm.
course he didn't answer. And so I got back, I clicked back over and she wasn't there, but she called me right back. So it was quiet, and I was like, and I knew about how long it took her to get home. And so I said, "Are you there?" And she was like, "No." And it was just like this, Dre. That's how quiet it was.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh. And so, I waited a few more minutes and I said, "Are you there yet?" And she said, "Yes, I'm here." Well, I used to ride home with her every night. She used to call me every night. She would get off at 10 o'clock. But any other time, I knew how she would do. Right before she would get home, I would hear ding, 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 ding. And I'd always go, "Put that seatbelt back on. You're not home yet." Yeah.
So you
So,
knew.
yeah. So I didn't hear any of that after I asked, "Are you there?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Are your parents there?" And she was like, "Yes." Well, I had, like, I hold my phone on my left ear and I had my finger in my right ear so I could hear, and I didn't hear anything, no mumbling, no "you stay out here," no keys exchanging hand. I didn't hear anything. And so she said, "They're still not coming out." And I said, "Well, just give them time. They're probably in there trying to figure out, why he's not answering you back or whatever." But inside, I was nervous and I kept saying, "Something's not right. Something's not right about this."
Yeah.
And, and then she said it again, "They're still not coming out." And I said, "Well, just wait a minute." And then I heard her say, "He did." And then she kind of went, and then her stepmother took the phone and said, "Royce, I'm sorry." And I went into orbit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, did the stepmother come out? Because I read you know how sometimes people type up stuff in blogs, so sometimes it can be inconsistent or not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had said that the stepmother had came out and said, Royce, I'm sorry, he killed himself.
No, he
Okay.
just all she said was, "Royce, I'm sorry."
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she didn't even seem like she was beside herself.
No, nobody was beside themselves
Oh
at
my
all.
goodness.
Nobody was beside themselves, and that's the thing. I'm like, you just supposedly went in the house and found your son-in-law, and you're just able to just take the phone and calmly say, "Royce, I'm sorry." If
Yeah.
something happened to Ryan, who is my son-in-law, I'm not gonna be calm.
No.
No. Mm-mm.
No. You would, yeah, it would be I know some people handle things differently, but I think most humans with a heart, you're going to be beside yourself, almost needing
Oh
like
yeah, yes. And even she was, I mean, when Mary took the phone and said, "Royce, I'm sorry," I didn't hear her, you know, nothing. No hysterics, no loudness, nothing. I didn't hear nothing at all before that phone fell off my ear.
a,
Yeah. Well, and I left out a part. Like before when she was saying they're still not coming out, I was in my daughter's garage, and I was standing in front of the washing machine, and she came outside and she went, "Mama," and I didn't move. And then she said, "Mama," and I turned around and looked at her. And I guess, like Dave says, whatever look she saw in your face, she knew something was wrong, because she started coming toward me, but it seemed like she was coming in slow motion. Right when she got to me was when Mary said, "Royce, I'm sorry."
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
even imagine that moment for you. That
It's just, it's like I said, they need to pay for what my daughter had to witness in her garage, because Dre, I was gone. All I can remember saying was her name. And I could just remember her saying, "Mama, stop. Mama, please stop."
oh
And then um, Ryan came up behind her, and he must have asked, because he put his arms around both of us, and he must have asked her, "What's wrong?" And her little bitty voice went, "I don't know." But she
oh
knew what she was witnessing. It had to have been something with her brother.
yeah.
It's just, it's the whole thing. I don't understand. I've never understood that.
No.
Mm-mm.
And I've seen in some of the reports too that they come and get Marcus's body
Mm-hmm.
and they go straight to the funeral home.
Right.
So they never performed an autopsy or did an actual like investigation.
No. The coroner never even saw him.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. They took him, um, and I didn't know any of this until I started looking, trying to find out information. But yeah, they took him from the house to the funeral home.
I've never heard of that. Especially in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
That's there. Whether it's homicide or not, there had to have been a thorough investigation completed and an autopsy. He was a young man with no underlying illnesses.
Exactly. No, they took him from the house to the funeral home.
Oh my goodness. So there was
Mm-hmm.
never any like blood splatter analyst or crime scene forensics team, like nobody.
Nobody. Mm-mm.
Oh my
No.
goodness. That to me is obstruction of justice.
Oh yes, it is.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, when police chief and some kind of involved, I believe, I guess that's how they handle it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not justice, and that's not ethical. You elect these officials to be in these spots as public servants, so it's
Right.
like, where's the due justice?
Right.
Where's the work being done? This is an investigation. Like, someone died. It's
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Is it true that he was exhumed in 2016?
Yes.
Were you able to get anybody to actually do an actual, like, exam on him?
Oh, it was done by, people out there. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you've never gotten really any answers.
No, it's like I told the district attorney from out there, I said, with everything that's been done, all we have is more questions because none of it makes sense. You know, um, when Mark was exhumed, um, all these, on the toxicology report, all these drugs and all, and I'm like, Mark literally would not take ibuprofen when he had a headache.
Oh.
He would drink his little Paul Masson, but Mark has never had fentanyl and all of this other kind of stuff. And it was fentanyl confirmed, I think, in brain tissue in his liver. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
None. None.
No.
Mm-mm. There's nobody. When he was a teenager, yes, he smoked weed, but it's nobody that would tell you Mark ever took any type of hard drugs.
No.
None.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
We don't know where that came from.
No, that's very bizarre that was even recorded, that it was in his system. I mean, he doesn't have a history of using. One of the questions that I did have is, I read in one of the reports that it claimed that he had stuck the revolver in his mouth. When you seen Marcus, was there any signs of trauma to the face, like the mouth, the cheeks, the head? Did you see anything of that nature?
No. And see, I saw him like this happened on Friday, and I saw him that Monday, and but I didn't know I was getting ready to see him. Like we had taken clothes and everything to the funeral home, and Pastor Ford, we were sitting out there waiting, and he came, and he said, to follow him, and I thought, okay, we brought clothes and all, and he'll be in a casket and all. And when I turned that corner, like my cousins were, Cheryl and Steph were behind me, and I just stopped. And he was laying there on that gurney and under a sheet. And Cheryl went, "Are you going in?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And but I knew Dre. I'm like, I am getting ready to see something I will never ever forget. He's gonna
No.
be all messed up. No, he looked like any picture of Mark you've ever seen.
Oh my goodness.
There was nothing wrong with his face. There was nothing wrong with his head. And even that's the weird thing. And that's what one of my friends told me. She said Mark was working to show you even then, like her and her stepmother left out, and I had turned my head, and when I turned back around, his mouth had opened up just a little bit, and I
Oh, wow.
remembered I could hear how you can hear your voice in your head,
Yeah.
and it was like, there's nothing wrong with his teeth, and I'm trying to figure out, how is that if he shot himself in the mouth? I mean, there's already nothing wrong with it, that I can see.
Yeah.
And it was like I could hear my voice saying, Mark, what is this? I don't understand what I'm looking at. What is this? And it's just, I don't, and I'm sorry because most of the time I'm not teary like I am today,
Oh,
but it's
don't be
just,
sorry. No, don't be sorry. This was your son, and it's not right what happened.
no, no.
If he was so suicidal, wouldn't there be a note? Wouldn't there be signs
Yeah.
like he would be clinically depressed? Like there would be
Oh yeah.
something.
And he's never had anything like that. And like when we got there, that happened Friday, and so my husband and I got there Saturday, and you know it's weird because that's what he told me. He said I kept telling you, you know, we need to go, and he said, and you would be like, okay, and I told him, I said, because it seemed like if I stayed here, that wouldn't be true, you know.
Yeah.
But we finally went, and you know, and I went in there. She was in the bedroom, and I went in there and I asked her. I said, "What happened? You know, what happened? What made him do that?" And she said that, you know, again, but this time she changed it, and she said we were talking, and my phone went zzz, and then I heard Mark go, ugh. And then he didn't say anything else. And I just looked at her and I said, what are you talking about? I said, that's not what you told me. I said, you told me y'all were texting and you couldn't get, and then he stopped answering. I said, are you now telling me he did this in your ear? And I said, that would be heartless. And Mark was not heartless. And she
No.
didn't say anything else. And I asked her, I said, where is his phone? I mean, what were y'all texting that, you know, was so devastating to him? And she said, oh, they said the phone was broke and it was blood on it. And it seems like she showed me her phone, but I didn't see anything that stood out, you know, that's no.
Yeah. That would
And Mark would leave his kids.
no.
Mm-mm.
No. I thought
Mm-mm.
that the moment I started reading about him having children, and I seen the Facebook group that you guys have, or the page for him, and I'm just looking at his pictures and I'm thinking, I just come on,
Mm-mm.
this doesn't make any sense.
Mm-mm.
He looks like he would give the world to his children.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, he wouldn't leave his kids. No.
No.
Mm-mm.
So Estrella changed her story twice of what actually happened that day leading up to the murder or the death.
Yeah,
She
she like
changed
I said
twice.
on Friday. You called it right. Like I said on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
she said they were texting, and when I got there Saturday, she said they were on the phone talking.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. She changed it within 24 hours.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it's very strange to me because it's someone that you love, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, to me I would want an investigation, you know, because
Yes.
it could, anything could have happened to him, you know, somebody could have came in and tried robbing. So it's like,
Oh, and see, that's the other thing. She was leaving work to go home to take the key so her parents could get in. But they never locked the door.
oh wow. So they never had
Yeah,
their doors locked.
no, until at nighttime. Because that's what I told him one time. I was sitting in the kitchen, you know, had gone down there for a visit, and somebody just walked in. And I looked at Mark and I say, oh, it's like that now, huh? I say, oh, yeah. I say, you live in Mayberry. Yeah.
Mayberry.
But people just walk right in. They had, it was like, it was the front door. It was a door under the carport. It was a door that led, they call it the outdoor kitchen. It was two doors that led out from there. Every one of them was unlocked.
Oh my goodness. So they had a,
Until at nighttime, you know, when he would go around and lock the doors, you know, like if we went somewhere or something, you know, they would lock them.
yeah.
But otherwise, no. And then later on, you know, when I came back to Earth, I'm like, what would they need a key for? If Mark was there by himself, the door was unlocked.
Yeah, that doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense.
None. none of it makes sense.
Mm-mm.
Not any of it. Mm-hmm.
So what was the town like Leonville? What was the surroundings like? What was his neighborhood like?
It was, I call it a one horse town because it's,
Oh.
yeah, it's, it's small. Um, it's like the country, like you went down, going to his house, you went down this long little highway, to get there. It's spaced out. It's just like the country. I mean, and everybody knows everybody because my daughter and I had gone one time and we had stopped at the gas station and she went inside, but the man hadn't seen our license plate or nothing. And she said he looked at her and he went, "You're not from out here, are you?" She said, "No, sir, I'm from Texas." So they knew, hey, this is somebody not from here. But it was a small, it's a small town.
Yeah.
Like that's what I couldn't understand with, but you'll probably get to that with me when you want to ask questions or whatever. The police station was right around the corner.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so I'm not understanding this supposed, I call it 911 chatter, like this paper I got, the ambulance being dispatched and the fire department was right around the corner too.
Oh, wow. So everything was centrally located right by the house.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
He
wow.
lived he lived on the corner, and like the post office I think was down the street. The police department was around the corner. It seemed like the fire department was down the street. It was, like Mayberry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did she call 911 like right after the discovery of Marcus, or like what was the time frame? Like was it evening time frame?
She called me at 6:16, and no, she never called 911. Supposedly her mother did.
Wow.
You ought to see my face. You can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
she never called 911. And that's the weird thing. Um, like I've heard the 911 call, and there's, you know, my son-in-law, we're here at the house, and he and my daughter were on the phone, and he's kind of been upset because he's not working, and she can't get him to answer him. He's not. Oh, and this is just how she was talking. And we're knocking, and we can't get him to answer, and his truck is here, and we need somebody to come. They're not going to have to break the door, are they? What?
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
So there was no panic in her voice.
No.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she kept giving the wrong address twice, and the 911 operator was, that's not coming up or whatever. Well, I don't know if she wasn't there or whatever, but this paper that I've seen, the address or whatever that comes up from where the 911 call was made, that's not Mark's address.
What?
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness.
Hmm. Yeah, because I looked at that and I'm like, that's not 3952 Highway 31. Where is this? And no, it's some other address kept come on this paper that I've seen. And like I guess it's the paper report or whatever from like a 911 call,
Yeah.
and it has caller's address, and it's not Mark's address. So I don't know where she was.
Oh,
I don't know where.
interesting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, usually you give the dispatcher the address of the location you're calling from.
Well, or it'll come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. The address should have been 3952 Highway 31, but it's not. So I don't know where she was.
Wow. That's so crazy.
Hmm.
That's it's crazy to me that you, as a mom, and you're all the way out in Texas,
Exactly.
and you're sitting there trying to get them to answer you like, okay, what's going on, what happened, like, you know what I mean, while being frantic of what exactly happened to Marcus.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm curious, the night of Marcus's death, when did you guys drive to Louisiana? Did you guys go that night or did you go the next day?
We went Saturday. We went the next day.
The next day. Okay.
Hmm. And do you know, I went that way. Oh, I don't know how many times, visiting him and them and all. And I to this day do not remember that ride
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Hmm.
Your body goes into that trauma and you start tuning things out. You just get to
Yeah.
that, you have tunnel vision.
Right. Right. Yeah. I don't remember because I asked Dave. I said we went the same way, and he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you know I do not remember that?" And he said, "I know you don't." He said, "Because you just pretty much wasn't there.
Yeah.
You were in shock." It's like I tell anybody that has tried to help. I If it can be proven to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that Mark took his life, I will never ever understand that, but I'll accept it. But it's no, all arrows point to his life was taken, and nobody out there is doing a thing about it. And they know, I mean, they know he didn't take his life because I had talked to, like, on Mark's Justice page, this lady had left a message and wanted me to call her, and I called her, and she said, asked me, had I been in touch with the coroner or anything. I said, I haven't talked to that man. I said, I called him every day. I said, and he finally called me back exactly 1 month later, February 4th, 2013. I said, and I have not talked to that man since. And she said, well, my daughter supposedly took her life, and I haven't been able to talk to him. And I said, what happened? I asked her what happened to her, and she said, well, her boyfriend said, she sat down to make out a grocery list. I said, first red flag. And I said, go ahead and keep talking. And she said, and she was messing with a gun, and she shot herself. And I said, did she leave a note? And she was like, no. I said, so what you're telling me is your daughter sat down to make out a grocery list for groceries she knew she wasn't going to eat, but she didn't leave you a note. And she said, no. And I said, he killed your daughter.
Mm.
Well, when I was talking to the DA out there, he keeps bringing up this example, and I told him, I said, all of our kids will do things that will surprise us. I said, but Mark wouldn't have taken his life. And he said, well, that's just like, I can't think of Cindy's last name right now. He said, this other mother didn't think that her daughter took her life. I said, Cindy, I said, and she was proven right. I said, there was an investigation done. She told me how helpful you had been and all of this. I said, and he's now been indicted for murder. I said, what makes her daughter different from my son?
Exactly.
I said, and I would think you would give me an example of a real suicide if that's what you're trying to sell me.
Or
Oh,
complete an ethical investigation and give you proof.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But I mean, I don't know what, like I said, if Mark was a secret agent, he never told us that. So I don't know what the big cover up is about. I don't. It makes no sense to me. The like I said, the lies, the contradictory reports that I've gotten, nothing makes sense. And I'm like, what is it about his death that y'all don't want to come out? Because I even have an email from the Attorney General's office apologizing to me for him being a victim of such a crime, but there's nothing they can do. What?
Yeah. And I mean, when
Yeah.
you say victim, like that means it was
Uh-huh.
homicide.
Exactly. Exactly. And what crime? If he took his own life, where's the crime?
Exactly. Where is the
Mhm.
crime?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So
They,
there's nothing like, are you working with any investigators, like private investigators, any special forensics teams? Like, do you have a team set up?
no, the Mark Harper with MJA Inc. is he's the one that's been, doing different things trying to help. And I had this other group, Together We Stand. I met Sergey on Facebook, and they've been trying to help. But otherwise, I don't have like any people like what you asked. But
Okay.
Mark has sent out all of this different information to um, forensic people and all of that, and they all came back with the same determination: homicide.
Oh, wow.
Hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Because he's seen, I don't ever want to see that or whatever, but Mark had always said if he ever saw pictures, he would know what happened or didn't happen. And so he's finally seen those, and he told me, he said, "Oh no, no. Number one, Dre, if you shoot yourself, don't you fall where you are?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the scenario that they're trying to portray to us is Mark shot himself on the bed, and then he turned around and sit straight up next to the bedside table.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, if he would have shot himself on the bed, he would have fell on the bed, depending
Uh-huh.
on how close he was to the bed and himself.
Right. Right. But no, I think Mark said what they're trying to portray, Mark would have had to do a 180 after he shot himself to turn around and sit upright on the floor after shooting himself over there by the bed. And then the phone is on the phone, I think, is on the bed. Then, of course, they put the Bible in there for theatrics. And he asked me one day, he said, "Is Mark right-handed or left-handed?" And I said, "Right." He said, "Then why?" And he said it just like this. He said, "Then why the hell is the gun on the left
What?
side?" Mm-hmm.
The gun was on the left side of him?
Yeah. Yeah. He said, "Then why the hell is the gun over by his left hand?" I said, "I
Was
don't know."
was he holding the gun at all?
Mm-mm. It was just laying over there by his left side somewhere.
Oh my goodness, that doesn't make any sense.
None.
Did he say anything about like blood splatter?
Yeah, he told me about that, and he said something about there are two voids on the bed, and that means that something was there and it was moved.
Hmm. There's a case of a soldier. She was a female soldier in 2005,
Mm-hmm.
and her family's fighting for answers because she was in Balad, Iraq, and they said that she had committed suicide with her M16. Um, when you look at this girl and I were about the same size. Like she was about
Mm-hmm.
5'2", 5'3", weighed probably about anywhere from 100 to maybe 135 pounds. It seemed to me like it was a cover up. Like the coroner report didn't match up to the autopsy photos. Like nothing added up at all.
Nothing adds up in this either, Dre, at
No.
all. and it's funny you brought that up because like when the coroner called me, and he kept talking, because nobody ever talked to me. Nobody. No, nobody ever asked me anything about him. And he said his history was taken from the wife and the father-in-law, and the wife's father. And I said, what history? I said, like his medical history? And he said, yes. And I said, well, that's funny. I say, he wouldn't really have any because he wouldn't go to the doctor. And then he started telling me about, if I told him, I said, I saw Mark and there was nothing wrong with him. And he started telling me about, if you press the muzzle up to your head and all of that. And I said, why do you keep talking about his head? I said, I was told he shot himself in the mouth. And then that's when he said, oh, well, he or his death investigator would have to go over the notes, and, either one of them will call me back. It's 2020 and I still haven't heard from him.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Yes. But it's like you said, the pictures and the report, like I can read the autopsy report, and up here it'll tell you no fractures and all, and then you come down about 3 or 4 lines, and then then you come down, at the top is fractures and all this, then you come down about 3 or 4 lines and there's no fractures, and I'm like, what, did he heal? Then it tells you, no damage to tongue and all. Well, how is that? He shot himself in the mouth.
Yeah, and there would be like a collection of blood too, wouldn't there be?
You would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's nothing matches, because he didn't shoot himself. Where all those drugs come from?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. They y'all gave him some kind of cocktail or whatever where he couldn't fight back, or whatever they did. I don't know.
I was going to ask you because fentanyl's pretty serious. Fentanyl's very serious.
Yes.
So it's like, I mean, and to me, he seems like the type of guy that would not go down without a fight.
Mark would say in a minute, we're going to rearrange some furniture. Yes, that was his saying. I say, Mark gone on somewhere. Yeah, we're going to rearrange some furniture up in here. I say, I know you would. But it's and fentanyl wasn't the only. I should have had that autopsy report, the toxicology report, so I could read it to you. And I didn't tell you the main part, the part that really got me started. Because see, I didn't know what had happened. I still didn't know what had happened. And like it was 2 weeks later, and that's, like I said, that's when I came back to Earth. And I was like, wait a minute. No, something's not right about this. And I called, trying to get a police report and whatever. And excuse me, and the police chief told me I had to get that from Astria. And I said, well, she doesn't talk to me. That should have been my other red flag. She quit talking to me when we used to talk every day. And so I, kept on, and I called Pastor Ford at the funeral home. And I told him, I said, Pastor Ford, nobody will help me. Nobody will answer my questions. Nothing. I said, I don't even know where Mark was shot. And he did not hesitate. And he said, I saw no evidence of a gunshot wound. And I said, wait, what did you say? And he repeated it. And I said, well, did you see evidence of him being stabbed, beaten, anything like that? And he said, no, I saw no evidence of that either. Mm-hmm. And I said, then how did he die? And he said, until I see what's written on their death certificate, I can't tell you.
So they basically, did his death certificate just say something like suicide aided by self-inflicted gunshot wound?
Yeah, it says self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, now I know your mouth is on your head, but in your head and your mouth different.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a big mystery, and I can't figure out why, because he was just a regular person getting ready to come home.
See, and that's what's so strange to me. One question that I do have is, did he ever share with any of you family members any problems in the marriage with him and Astria by chance?
No, but he did with his friend.
He did.
Uh-huh. See, like Steve, that's his best friend. And Steve had got, see, that's the whole thing. Mark was getting ready to come home. Mark had a job that was starting at the end of January. And but his other friend Zach called me, and this was on years later. And he said, Miss Royce, he said, I'll talk to that investigator or anybody you want me to talk to and tell them what Marcus told me, because they called him Marcus. And he said, he told me, we've tried, it's not working. That girl is crazy. I'm going to get a divorce and get the hell on away from her. He said, I'm coming back home. He said, what will you do with your horses? Because they had horses. And he said, I'll put them over at my grandmother's if I have to. He wasn't going to tell me anything because he knows how I am about them.
Yeah.
I would have turned on a dime. If you're being mean or whatever it is to him or whatever, then now you and I are going to have an issue.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, here, I'll give you a motive. She found out Mark was having an affair with her cousin.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
Was it proven?
Yeah, it was proven.
Oh.
Uh-huh. So is that motive for anybody? I mean, yes, that's motive. I watch Snapped every Sunday. you know, you know. I mean, women do that all
Oh
the
yeah.
time. Yeah, and that's why I say, why would Mark take his life behind somebody he didn't even want? He told people he was through with her. So all of a sudden now he's gonna take his life behind her. I don't think so.
No. He seemed like yeah, there was things going on, you know what I mean, behind closed doors, but he's going back home to Texas. He had a plan.
Right. Like I said, Steve's brother had gotten him a job, and I think it started like January, anywhere from like the 26th, 27th, something like that. But yeah, because he asked him, what he had to do, and he told me, he said, just come, because they called it H. He said, just come to H and fill out the paperwork. He got you in. So he had a job that was getting ready to start.
Wow. So he was ready to move on, had everything
Oh
lined
yeah,
up.
yeah, yes. Mhm. Yeah, but it's where you said you saw he was exhumed, and but she had 2 polygraph tests before that happened, inconclusive.
Oh, really? So she had two lie detector tests and they both came back inconclusive?
Uh-huh. 3 years later.
Oh,
3 years
wow.
later. Yes. She had I forget, I think it was May 4th or 5th, 2016. But the next one, I believe, was May 17th, 2016. The order was signed to exhume Mark on May 24th, and then he was exhumed on June 2nd. Now, what that sound like? They know good and well he didn't take his life. They know that. But why they're not doing anything about it, I don't know.
Now, does she have any connections to anybody that could possibly be a part of the investigation? Like, is there anybody that she could be related to or friends with?
Supposedly, from what Mark Harper and his team found out, her and the police chief had been fooling around.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I mean, we can't confirm that, but that would make sense as to why there was no ethical investigation if that is to be the case.
Right. And plus she herself told my cousin that Joseph Noel is a close personal family friend. And that's the police chief.
Oh, gosh.
Who also shooed off the St. Landry Sheriff's Department from the scene.
So they were told to go.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Which I don't understand, because I know here in Texas, the Sheriff's Department is higher than the police department.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He shooed
Wow.
them away. Mm-hmm. And why is that?
Yeah, that's not good at all, and it sounds so corrupted.
Uh-huh.
So with Mark Harper and his team, are they doing anything currently active with Marcus's case, like his story?
He just sent in another request for because we've never gotten text messages content. We got the phone records, but it had no text message content.
So it just had
So
like the numbers.
right. And so he asked for that. He asked for because like I said, he's seen pictures and all. And so he asked for he said he could see them, taking pictures, like video and pictures or whatever, with their phones. And he said if those are government issued, he wants those pictures. And if they were their private cell phones, they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent in that request not too long ago. And so, we're waiting to see what comes of that. They probably won't send it, because he had sent in numerous, Freedom of Information Act requests or whatever, and they never answered, never sent what he asked for.
Wow, so you guys are getting completely stonewalled by that state then. That's terrible.
It's heartbreaking and tiresome, and like I said, and I'm sick of it. I'm tired of this. You took his life and you're just walking around like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going forward, with everybody getting to hear Marcus's story, what would you like everyone to know about Marcus's case currently? Like, is there anything you want to share? Like your goals, like what would you like to see soon happen? You know what I mean? As far as getting information out to the public, like what do you want people to know?
I want them to know that, this is a huge cover up, and the powers that be know it. I mean, it's too many contradictory reports, and times don't match up, and and I want justice for him. I want whoever took his life to go to prison for that. And then the people that are in with helping cover it up, they don't need to hold that job, because you're supposed to help people and, not cover it up. They've not helped me. None of them. They've not helped me. And when I talked to Charles Cravens, who is the new district attorney in St. Landry Parish, well, he took the former one's place. It was like when he was talking to me, he was, how when feel like somebody's trying to handle you.
Yeah.
He was, you know, I know that's your son, and family members sometimes can't accept it. I said, no, I can accept it if it's proven that he did that. I said, but everything that you all have supposedly done proves he did not. So, they need to do something about that instead of covering it up.
Yeah.
It was not my job to have to investigate my child's death. And that's what I really had to do.
And you shouldn't have had to do that.
No, I shouldn't have had to bury him and then turn around and have to try to figure out why. You ought to see my computer room. I have sterilite boxes and all full of stuff about Mark. And that's not my job. I retired from the phone company. I'm not an investigator, but that's what they've turned me into.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you want to know. You want to know why, and you want to see justice for Marcus.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
and I want to tell you, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing Marcus's story. And I just want to tell you, I admire your courage and your willpower to fight for your son and for your family.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.